It's that time again. The annual conference of the American Society of Ag Consultants, otherwise known as ASAC, is going to be held in Fort Myers, Florida, this November 4th and 5th. Kurt Covington is one of 9 professionals who will address the conference. The other speakers who will cover a wide range of topics represent Florida Farm Bureau, Florida Citrus Commission, University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, National Ag Law Center, Risk Mitigators and Advisors, Tyler Associates, as well as the lead economist for dairy at CoBank, and myself, Chrissy Wozniak from North American Ag. The day and a half of presentations will be followed by ag tours on Tuesday afternoon at Echo Farms, one of my favorite places here in Fort Myers. Attendees will experience farming at its most creative, with unique demonstrations, plants, and techniques being used to help farmers and urban gardeners in developing countries. A second tour at Echo will showcase simple technologies that can improve food, water, and shelter for millions of people. A third tour of a hydroponic grower is also being planned. For more information and to register, visit www.agconsultants.org. That's www.agconsultants.org. See you there. Today's Ag Spotlight is sponsored by Focus Management. Old structures, methods, and approaches can't keep up with the pace of change that's upon us, nor the speed of response and adaptation that's needed to do better than merely survive. We must move with the times. And so, for these times, Focus Management has created Rapid Agile Deployment, an online, virtual, short-cycle planning and deployment process. For more information, go to focusmanagement.ca. Hi, and welcome to North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. I'm pretty excited about today's interview with the founder of Magnetic, which is your 5-minute news fix for all things agriculture, business, policy, and tech. Twice a week for free. I would like to welcome Indianapolis native Travis Martin. Welcome, Travis.
Hey, Chrissy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here. I subscribed to Magnetic Ag a few months ago, and personally, I love what you guys are doing. So can you tell me a little bit more about the weekly or biweekly or biweekly, but twice a week email?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a farm kid at heart, grew up in the industry. So Magnetic Ag was an idea that has kind of come over several years now, actually, all the way back to, I guess I would say, when I was a freshman or a sophomore in college at Purdue University. And the idea really came actually, Chrissy, from other newsletters sort of out in the stratosphere. I've been a reader of these very quick, interesting business reads such as The Morning Brew or The Hustle that are geared more towards a tech or business type young professional. And really, I'd been reading those and thinking, man, I wonder if that exists for the industry, the ag industry specifically. And really, after a lot of research and kind of looking through all the different media outlets, as well as, several folks in our industry who are kind of putting out their own content, I couldn't find anything that fit that niche. And so, with a global pandemic, you tend to have a little bit more downtime. And I thought, let's give this a go. So back in early November, actually, I sent the first test one out to just a small handful of friends. And it's blown up pretty quickly. So in about 2 months, we're at 2,000 readers. And it's resonating. I think it's a great news source for people who want a lot of information kind of packed up in a punch, and gives them something to scan really quickly in the morning before they go off to work. But I think the other piece is we also, to your point, we focus on all things agriculture. So we're not specific to one niche of the industry. We try to really play off this idea of there's so many things that are interconnected, right? So as you look at commodity prices, that might affect, there might be things related to the commodity, but then that might affect other commodities and feed prices and inputs and so on and so forth down the line. And so I think people like that. I think our industry is full of people who are just very passionate and like to advocate on its behalf. And so I think that's why it's resonating.
Right. Yeah. And what I love so much is the simplicity, right? I have a marketing company and I'm constantly saying that if a message isn't clear and simple, people will not read it. So you guys have done a great job in making agriculture news bite-sized and easily consumable. And so did you do this on purpose?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely a thought. And again, right, I'm mimicking models I've seen in other industries. But it was definitely something that I myself, and it sounds like you two, were looking for, right? It's helping you better get a broad scope of what's going on. And then when you have interest, right, all of the sources there for you. So I often tell people, my job, and I'm working with a small group of people now. This is kind of a collective side hustle. Is that we're really ultimately just trying to be really really helpful curators of content,
Right.
because we've already got a lot of really strong media brands in our industry that put out a lot of really good content. We're just trying to really create it, or condense it, I should say, and then also make it a little fun, right? And make it something that you enjoy and you look forward to in the morning.
Yeah, that's it. I know you always get everything is not sarcastic, but it's just kind of quippy. If it's something negative, you kind of make not fun, but you
Right.
make it fun. And I really appreciate that. It, puts a smile on my face whenever I'm reading it. And I think that's really important right now. And yeah, just you have so many different areas that you're covering that it feels like you're getting a really good review of where we're at.
Yeah, that's the goal. I think one thing, and you said it well in your intro, and when we speak to all things ag, right? It's yes, it's definitely things going on in the markets. It's agribusiness news. So what are the large ag companies as well as the ag tech startups doing? And then I think also there's a policy piece too, right? So what are the things coming out of Washington D.C. or other countries across the world that are influencing kind of the whole value chain? And
Right.
that's kind of the trajectory, as we curate all that content to make sure that we're touching all those pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So, what's your background in agriculture? You said you went to Purdue?
Yeah, so I'm from northern Indiana. I grew up in a big family of pork producers. So, growing up, I was very active in FFA and 4-H as well, and so got a really a lot of broad exposure to industry. And I went to Purdue University. I studied in the ag econ department, and then from there, kind of I've crisscrossed across the industry a little bit. So I came out of school and worked kind of in more traditional corporate ag. So I spent time at Dow AgriSciences, which would now be Corteva, obviously. And then a lot of my career was then at Elanco Animal Health. And from there, I kind of got the itch to go into the startup world. And so for the past several years, I've been working with kind of a wide array of ag and ag tech organizations, basically in a variety of kind of strategy and marketing roles, as a lot of them are trying to scale.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you definitely have that entrepreneur itch. Have you always had that? Have you always kind of known?
I had a conversation with someone recently about this on a separate podcast. It's funny. So a lot of these groups that I've worked for over the past several years that are startups or scale ups, they didn't exist when I graduated from college 6.5 years ago. Right.
Right.
So I think that goes to speak to how fast our industry is moving.
Mhm.
And so I don't even think I knew when I graduated college there would be opportunities like this, or that I would be working in a capacity like I am today, where I don't have a full-time employer and I have my hands in a variety of really interesting projects. But I think it's a fun place to be. I personally really enjoy it. And it's also allowing me to engage with a really interesting group of people that are doing some really cool things.
Yeah. That's really cool. So who is your target audience with Magnetic Egg?
Yeah, we definitely are. We welcome anyone who is interested in a new news source, but we definitely have our niche. So much like my inspirations to start it that were not in ag but in general business media are focused towards a younger demographic, that's definitely where the majority of our readers are. So we have most of our folks sit somewhere between 24 and 35 years old. And then we're actually this spring going to be launching a college ambassador program.
Oh,
Just knowing, kind of to what I noted earlier, this is something I wish I had when I was an ag student, 10 years ago now. And so as I think about that, I think, let's make sure the students know this is available. And so we'll have several campus ambassadors across a lot of the land grant universities that have a College of Agriculture, just spreading to their peers as well as faculty and staff that, this is sort of a new ag, resource for them. And it was built kind of with them in mind. So that'll be another target market that I think, we'll hopefully pick this up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's great. That's um, really great ambition there to involve the youth as they're coming out. And to your point too about how fast everything has changed in the last few years, it has been really amazing. And even now, just in 1 year, almost a year, everyone's had to pivot, right? So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really good to have people at the forefront that are being brave with it all, I guess.
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
on that note too, what do you think is the biggest challenge that our industry faces now, in your opinion?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And I scan and look at so much news now that, I think you think I'd have one solid answer, but I don't know if there is one. I think it goes back to kind of almost the strength is a little bit of our weakness, right? We're very interdependent as a value chain, right? So there's lots of players as you think about kind of on-site, on-farm production and all the way to the consumer.
Mhm.
And so I think when we think about innovation and the challenges there, there's just a lot of business models and a lot of relationships that have never really been developed before because the value chain is usually so segregated, right? You're either a producer, a processor, or a consumer, or I guess, and then you've got food retail in there as well that then gets to the consumer. And so I think it's sort of these new dynamics where people are having to kind of reveal their playbooks a little bit to work across the table in order to, either use data to be more efficient or create more transparency, or as you think about, consumer insights, transferring that all the way back to the farm, whether it's, row crop or livestock. There's just a lot of avenues there that I think have to be explored. And that's a challenge because our industry just isn't necessarily used to working across an entire value chain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So then what do you think are the opportunities then?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see in the next several years the companies that are either, some of them are purchasing each other or creating strategic partnerships. I think the folks that really start to own the whole value chain are going to be winners. So as you start to see, there's groups like Costco and even Walmart with their new beef value chain kind of project. There's a variety of these companies that are starting to understand that they've got to be in play at all times, and rather than just being each other's produce or suppliers or buyers, they've got to work kind of hand over hand to make it valuable for everybody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's exciting. Right.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think it presents a lot of opportunity then also for as I think about readers of Magnetic. If I'm a young person and I'm in college, it kind of opens you up to a new world of potential employers, right? I mean, as you think about Costco building their own, chicken production supply chain. I mean, who would have ever thought? I don't think I would have thought as an ag student, 10 years ago, that a company like Costco would be a potential employer.
Right.
Or the variety of other companies that come out of those sort of partnerships that focus on maybe very specific parts of that supply chain. So I think it just makes it a really exciting time for the industry and for anyone in the industry who's interested in exploring kind of what the next kind of level is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to agree with you there. So how does the North American ag audience get access to magnetic ag? Can you tell them that?
Yeah. Yeah. So folks can just go to magneticag.com. And once they're there, they just sign up and they'll be on the list to receive it every Tuesday and Friday morning.
Awesome. So one more question. What lays ahead for you? So what are your dreams and what do you personally want to accomplish?
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas in mind, but I think from a high level is to continue to engage with just the really interesting group of peers and leaders in our industry as they kind of think about the next couple decades and what that looks like for the future of food production. As myself personally, I want to be engaged in a marketing communication strategy kind of way going forward, and so I want to be involved with the right people in the right place at the right time. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Travis. And thanks to everybody who's watching. And if you want to subscribe to Magnetic Egg, the links will also be in the bio below. So have an awesome day. Thank you so much. The way we conduct business in agriculture has endured a drastic change. Our handshake industry has traditionally been face-to-face, but with the cancellation of in-person events and farm shows, everyone has had to adapt, from farms to manufacturers to service providers. With a dizzying array of marketing and digital business choices, you need to make the right decisions or risk not being seen at all. If you need advice or a customized plan for your business, don't hesitate to reach out to me at chrissywozniak.com or chrissy.info because that's easier to spell. Don't risk not pivoting your business. Find the path that will take you into the digital space and be seen by our industry.